I call to order the meeting of the Verona Common Council for Monday, August 11th, 2025 at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have the roll.
Alderperson Harrison.
Here.
Alderperson Helmke.
Present.
Alderperson Hoax.
Present.
Alderperson Keller.
Present.
Alderperson Swanson.
Here.
Alderperson Tucker Long.
Here.
Alderperson Weiss.
Present.
We have enough people for quorum, so we will proceed on to item 4, which is public comment. Do any members of the public wish to speak?
My name is Kristen Baring, and I am the president of Savannah Oaks Condominiums. And I've been looking for help for over 4 years for this problem that we have on garbage. There are 3 different condo associations on Enterprise Drive. And the 2 on the ends, they don't pay for garbage pickup. It's part of your taxes because you own your condo or own your home. And for some reason, we have to pay for our own, and to the tune of almost $3,000 a year. We don't get that in back taxes or anything, and I'm wondering why we have to pay when the other 2 condo associations do not. They won't go up a private drive that is maybe 200 feet to get behind our condos. All of our condo association, we have an 8-unit, and it's a row house. We all have Enterprise addresses. This isn't on Prairie Way, but the backs are off this Prairie Way. So, like I said, we're getting charged quarterly $709.28, where we should be getting that through our taxes for free, considering the other condo associations do. And with our insurance just going up $300 a month, it's taxing for any HOA to have to pay all this money. So that's why I'm here trying to figure out how we can come to some solution on how we can get relief from having to pay our own garbage service, trash service. We have waste management right now, and I know that city went to Pelletieri, and I came then and they didn't offer me anything. They said you would have to take your garbage cans out front. Well, we only have rear garbage or garages. They would have to be all the way around and all the way in the front. And in the wintertime, it's just not gonna happen. So that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. Just to clarify the situation, we can't talk about anything that's not on our agenda, but I do really appreciate you being here. And Mr. Alec is the city administrator, and he's written it down. He'll take a look at it, and we'll get back to you. Do we have?
I've worked with Beth for almost a year, but we've gotten nowhere. I've had no help at all.
Okay. Do we have you have our contact? Okay. We'll take a look at it and get back to you.
Okay?
Thank you for being here. We are still in public comment. If any other members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Hack. I'm here representing Hometown Community Church, and I know later on in the agenda that you guys are going to be talking about renewing our lease at the Senior Center. We've been there for, gosh, I think 4 years now, meeting there on Sunday mornings, and it has been incredible. It's a perfect space for us. We're a very small church, but a strong church, and we love it there. So we love being there and hope that we can continue to meet there on Sunday mornings. And so I just wanted to come and say thank you for considering that. We looked at the new lease that was proposed to us. I think it looks great. I really appreciate what was put forth. I think it looks awesome, and we agreed as a church that looks great. So just wanted to come and say thank you for considering that, and hope that you will agree to that and that we can continue meeting there. We love this community. love serving the community. I don't know if you've seen every year, we do a trunk or treat event in October, which brings hundreds of kids and families out. We do that for free, just as something for the community to have fun and enjoy each other as a community. And that's something that we love to do and use that space in particular for it. So just wanted to say that. So thank you very much. And I will likely not stay for that conversation at the end. But if you do have any questions for me, just let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We are still in public comment. If any other members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one else approaching the microphone, we'll move on to item 5, which is approval of the minutes from the July 28th, 2025 Common Council meeting. Comments, corrections, questions, or motions to approve? Alder Swanson.
I move to approve.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Last chance for corrections. Seeing no hands. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the July 28th, 2025 Common Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. Don't have anything for you tonight, so we'll move on to item 7, which is announcements. Any announcements from the council? Alder Tucker Long.
Staff anniversary cards are going around, so make sure you sign them before you leave. Thanks.
Thank you. Other announcements from the council? Seeing no announcements, we will move on to item 8, which is administrator's report. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of updates. We're starting to get preliminary figures in. So this one is population. So the official estimate, this is preliminary now, but usually it does not change, is the population went up 439 people to 16,796 residents. So that makes Verona 6th in numeric change since the census in 2020. So 2,870 people is what we're up since the last census, which is about 20.61%. So again, we know Verona is growing rapidly. That's one of our indicators. Another one is equalized value. So our equalized value went to nearly $4.7 billion. So $4,693,079,100. So $4.693 billion. And also, as far as net new construction, which is, I call it organic growth, like the new construction within a community, we were the 4th highest in terms of that year over year, with $230,110,100 of net new construction. So that makes us 4th in the state, behind Madison, the village of Mount Pleasant, which has the Foxconn, former Foxconn site, the city of Milwaukee. So Verona's only, is 4th out of all those communities. So again, I think it just reflects what we all know, is that Verona is growing rapidly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Olick? Seeing no questions for Mr. Olick, we'll move on to item 9, which is an engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. For the Country View Road projects, phases 2 and 3 are under construction, and work is focused on installing the road and bike path subbases. For Kettle Creek North, phase 8 is under construction. Asphalt paving is expected to occur within the next couple of weeks. Arden Glen Phase 4 the grading is underway, and they are planning to move to utilities in the next week or so. The stormwater webpage updates are being worked on internally and should be updated in the next month. For public information and education, there is a Wisconsin Stormwater Week coming up September 20th through 28th. So city staff are working on planning a public information and education event, likely at the City of Verona Public Library. With that, I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on the engineer's report? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to item 10, which is committee reports. First up, we have 10A Finance Committee. Alder Humke.
Yeah, I make a motion for payment of the bills in the amount of $1,660,269.80.
Motion by Alder Humke, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Alder Humke.
Yeah, there's three major payments. The first is to AECom for engineering services in the amount of $279,848. The second is to Bond Trust Services for payment of 2019 debt for the amount of $173,950. And the third payment is to Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District for the second quarter payment for services in the amount of $500,171.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from finance?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. We'll move on to 10B, which is Plan Commission. Alder Swanson.
Thank you. I move to approve resolution number 25-022 for the preliminary and final plan for our pharmaceutical manufacturing facility at 201 Prairie Heights Drive, with the exemptions listed in the packet and contingent on the applicant obtaining administrative approval for screening the outdoor generator.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Plat, not a plan, right?
Correct. Plat.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard.
Sorry.
Is it plan?
It says plat in the agenda.
Plan. Okay. Plan. That's
That's
the-
what I've got.
Okay, and then Alder Weiss as the seconder. Plan is okay. Okay. Motion by Alder Swanson, seconded by Alder Weiss. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Swanson.
So the only real issue here is that there's a noise concern because they're installing a generator, but they have plans to install screening, which is why there's the mention about the approval of the screening. And it also backs up to a highway anyway. So city staff had really no concerns about the noise in question, and it seemed totally reasonable at Plan Commission.
And I guess if I could add one thing on, it's an emergency backup generator, so it's not going to be running all the time. We did talk to our resident sound expert, which is Commissioner Mike Hankard, who does it professionally. He's a sound engineer, and he thought it would be fine. So I feel pretty confident that this isn't going to drive the neighbors insane. Other questions or comments? Alder Tucker Long and then Alder Host.
So was there any discussion at Plan Commission about the fact that this is pharmaceutical manufacturing and moving light industrial into a neighborhood? There's housing right next to it and across the street from it.
I don't recall there having been much concern about the use of the land at the meeting.
Neither.
I don't think any of the commissioners had any concerns at all.
Okay. And is
Based on it being sort of definitely on the peripheral of the zone,
Okay.
with being backed up against the highway and all.
And is this going into the daycare slot, or is the daycare going in next to it?
Mr. Severson.
This is would be going into an existing building that was previously used for like storage and warehousing. So no, the daycare would be three lots away, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, to the east.
Okay. And do we know if there's going to be any exhaust or fumes or smells coming off of the manufacturing?
Mr. Severson.
So there should not be any fumes that would that you could tell. I mean, obviously with any building's gonna have like exhaust, air exhaust. And that is all controlled by the EPA and tested. In terms of like the type of manufacturing, this would be pretty small scale. They're gonna at most they're gonna have between like 10 and 20 employees. So it'll be very like small scale manufacturing of, and they're only gonna be using like small box trucks for their deliveries that would be done during normal business hours. So it wouldn't have the necessarily, the type of impacts that you would think of like a larger typical manufacturing facility.
Okay. And are they going to be dealing with any hazardous materials?
They are, and the fire department's aware of those. The fire department's done an inspection of the site, and talk to them about proper fire protection, mainly from a fire standpoint is their concern.
Okay. And was there a public information meeting about this?
The plan development review was a public hearing. So it was noticed in the newspaper, legal notice in the newspaper. There was a posting at the property, and then all the properties within 250 feet were noticed.
Okay.
And I did receive a phone call from one gentleman, so I I know that the notices were received.
Were received. Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Alder Hoax.
Thank you. I think you touched on it briefly, but they're not going to have large semis that are backing in or idling for deliveries?
Correct.
Okay.
Alder Swanson.
On that, they did propose modifying the drop-off to allow a recessed, I'm not sure what the terminology is for it, but a recessed drop-off access point for trucks to facilitate the ease of shipping, but there was no indication that they'd be operating on large nuisance level scales.
Other questions or comments from the council? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving resolution number 25-022, approving a preliminary and final plan for a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility located at 201 Prairie Heights Drive with the exemptions and contingencies specified in the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Swanson.
Thank you. Next, I move to approve resolution number 25-023 for a certified survey map to split one lot into two lots located at 310 Schweitzer Drive on the condition a shared wall agreement shall be recorded with Dane County Register of Deeds.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Alder Swanson.
So the Planning Commission discussed the certified survey map on August 4th, 2025, and voted 7-0 to recommend the Common Council approve the certified survey map to create two lots located at 310 Schweitzer Drive with the condition outlined, which is the shared wall agreement to be recorded with the Register of Deeds.
Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 25-023, approving a certified survey map to split one lot into two lots located at 310 Schweitzer Drive with the contingency specified in the packet, signify by saying, or the conditions specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Plan Commission?
There's a presentation of the State of the Community Report.
Is that on the agenda or?
That's in the memo.
I don't see it on mine. Ms. Trusty, could you advance the agenda one more? Maybe it's on that one. It is not on the agenda.
We will have to come back to that.
All right. I guess I will add one thing is that at the last Plan Commission, we discussed the Envision Verona plan. It's on the city website, and then there's a Verona Press article about it. You should take a look at it if you're interested in the city, which hopefully you are being on the council. It is actually. But anyways, we'll move on to 10C, which is Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Alder Hoax.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve a temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license from the Madison 56ers Soccer Club for the Madison 56ers Fall Invitational, September 5 through 7, 2025.
Motion by Alder Hoax. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison, I think. Alder Hoax.
Thank you. The Madison 56ers will be selling beer at Redden Park during their fall invitational. The premises will be fenced with a single entrance and exit point. Club members will be checking IDs, and the applicant is requesting an officer on Saturday for traffic control. Staff recommend approval, and Verona Police Department, they do not have any hesitation about this. This is at least the fourth time I've approved this.
That's a good sign, I think. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license for the Madison 56ers Soccer Club for the Madison 56ers Fall Invitational, September 5th through the 7th, 2025, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Public Safety?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Excellent. With that, we will move on to 11, which is new business. First up, we have 11A, which is a discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 25-024, approving participation in the Dane County Urban County Consortium. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agreement is to establish the mutual desire to cooperate, to undertake, or assist in undertaking essential community renewal and lower-income housing assistance activities, specifically urban renewal and publicly assisted housing, by means of implementing a consolidated plan and annual action plan for both housing and urban development and community development block grant funds as an urban county for the federal fiscal years 2026, 2027, and 2028 appropriations, and from any program income generated from the expenditure of such funds and HUD home funds, if received, from appropriations in the same federal fiscal year, and from any program income generated from the expenditure of such funds. The City of Verona wishes to continue to participate in a consortium that administers programs and provides funding for affordable housing and public services to low to moderate income persons. Staff recommend approval, and this consortium is for the Dane County Urban County Consortium. What I researched is in the past there were two, I believe, towns that were not in it, but we have been participating in it for some time.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Humke.
Can you say that in like common people terms? Like what does this actually mean?
It means Dane County is kind of grouping all its municipalities together to try to get affordable housing funds from the federal government in the various ways that, and this shows the support of the community towards that end. We're helping out Dane County in this.
So we don't get indirectly benefit from,
We could potentially
benefit from. Okay.
Yep, it's the county. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Alder Swanson.
So again, to clarify a little further, so this is like an action body that's going to be getting together to make grant requests or whatever. It's not just a conference to talk about stuff? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Swanson.
I will move to approve resolution number 25-024, approving participation in the Dane County Urban County Consortium.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving resolution number 25-024, approving participation in the Dane County Urban County Consortium, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. I will move on to 11B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the commercial lease for Hometown Community Church. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The following are the terms and conditions of the proposed lease. The term is for 2 years, September 1, 2025 through August 31st, 2027. The increase in rent in year 1 and year 2 is the average of the most recent available data for CPIU for the previous 2 years, which is 2.75%, and all other terms remain the same. In asking Director Stephanie Ale about them as tenants, they've been excellent tenants of the Verona Senior Center. They're very respectful of the space and communicate immediately if anything arises. Things like problems with the air conditioning or door issues have come up. Staff recommend renewal of the lease.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Humke.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a comment that I think it's great that we're able to use this space and rent it out in a time that we would not normally be open, and to also do a benefit for an organization that's in our community and clearly doing good things. So I think it's great.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Humke.
I will make a motion to approve the commercial lease for Hometown Community Church as stated in the packet.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the commercial lease for Hometown Community Church signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. I will move on to 11C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the preliminary consideration of property located at 6500 Shady Bend Road, Verona, for potential future public works use. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm joined tonight, too, by Mr. Brian Manning, our Public Works Director. There is a parcel located at 6500 Shady Bed Road, Verona, in the town, but adjacent to the city, is for sale. And staff would like to receive guidance on whether to engage the property owner about the property. It's approximately 40 acres in size. The list price at the moment is $4.45 million. So we'd like to just discuss that with you.
I guess I would also ask Mr. Manning if you could talk about the relative advantages and disadvantages of this site compared to the other location that we're looking at.
Sure. I had my heart set on the Whalen Road property up behind the well until we got some bad news from the DNR that there's a 1,200-foot distance that we need to keep our salt storage away from the well, which basically takes up the entire site that I was looking at. So that triggered further exploration of other sites that are available, and this site on Shady Bend is currently listed. Looks like it meets our requirements. It's 40 acres, so it's, you know, more than the 20 we were looking at before, but I think it has potential to meet our needs. The other things that I've investigated about the Shady Bend site, it's in a similar situation where it would need to be, or currently it's in the town, so it need to be annexed in. We'd need to expand the urban service area to cover it. And then as far as utilities go, we need to extend the sanitary sewer to serve it, extend the water main, and then establish a right-of-way, which I would envision, big picture, could be an extension of East Verona Avenue. So once it comes past the 18151 interchange, it could convert into more of a north-south road and kind of bisect all the properties on that side of Verona. That this would be a first step in establishing that link on the east side of town.
Thank you. I guess then I would open it up to questions or comments on this item. Alder Swanson.
So it looks like there's already some structure on the property. What's the nature of what's already there? I'm just sort of curious.
Sure. It's an old farmhouse, and in the listing, they say it's beyond its useful life. Then there's a barn. So it looks like it's an old farmstead. So remnants of the old farmstead are there. I would envision both of those going away. There are some identified environmental corridors out there. So it's not a clean 40. I mean, it's not like a 40 acres cornfield. But if you look on Google on the aerial, there's a lot of it that's currently being farmed now. So I guess I'm thinking we'd still, what I envision is for the Public Works site to still utilize 20 acres of it, depending on what we see. Some of the land would need to be dedicated as right-of-way for the new road that goes in. And then, ballpark estimate, still 10 acres-ish is what I'm kind of envisioning for potential other uses. Whether that gets sold, developed, not sure what to do with it. Unfortunately, I'm kind of focused on my Public Works building versus overall use of the property.
Yes, so a follow-up, not necessarily for you, but perhaps for Administrator Jamie. Administrator Aulick. Do we have any history of leasing out owned land for farming that we could just continue letting who's ever farming it farm it in the meantime?
Unsure. I don't know. Yeah.
I'd be curious to know if there was any sort of precedent for that. And
Not in the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, that is a possibility or a separate discussion. Other questions or comments? Alder Harrison.
Hi. How, out is the Whalen Road property? I know you wanted that.
How out is it?
Yeah.
I like that property a lot. The problem is when I'm kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, it's not only the 1,200-foot dimension that I have to get away from the well for salt storage, but the topography of it, also there's a ridge line that comes through. So once I start pushing beyond the 1,200 feet, if I get creative and how to keep salt storage on site and then arrange the rest of the buildings, it gets difficult to serve it with the utilities, because at some point it tips the hill and it starts shedding off to the north again. So again, this is all very preliminary, but I'm finding it difficult in order to arrange the building in a location so that it can still get sanitary service to come back to Wayland before it tips over and goes towards Grandview. So I would still like Wayland Road. I just, the
Sounds like you're
complication.
still looking for ways to make it work, but it's,
The complications of it are concerning to me. I guess I'm still looking to explore whatever options we have available rather than focusing in on one and being disappointed like when the DNR gave me their ruling.
yeah, smart. Thank you.
Alder Tucker Long.
The Wayland Road property, how many acres was that?
It wasn't dimensioned off, so we were looking at 20.
At 20?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the price difference? Because you said just over 4 for the Shady Road one?
Yep, so the Shady Bend is asking, I think, $111,000 per acre. And the appraisal we got back for Wayland Road was $150. So 150 times the 20 was in the $3 million range. Shady Bend, 40 acres is in the $4.4 million range.
Okay. But you think we'd have about 30 usable acres out of the 40?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I guess I'd like permission from everybody to allow me to maybe go explore it and take a walk on the site and see what we actually have out there. So far, I've driven past it multiple times on Shady Bend, and I've pulled up Google multiple times and tried to envision what I can do with it. So
Sure.
that's as far as I've gotten.
Okay. I think my initial thoughts are I am totally happy if we allow, Brian to investigate this property further. I would also like to potentially investigate if we could add on to the east of the Wayland property. There's another property right next to it. We could see if we could add on a little bit to get our salt shed 1,200 feet to the east. If we grab on a little extra over there. And the reason I say that is because, Brian likes the Wayland property better. The topography is cleaner. So the full acreage is usable for sure. And then also running utilities is going to be cheaper because we already have the utilities to the well house, whereas we'd have to run utilities quite a ways to get down to this property because it's not adjacent to anything we already have. Also, the Shady Bend property, the only exit for now until the county potentially builds this road would be onto a residential road, as opposed to the Wayland property, which has a much better roadway for trucks and things to get out on. So, my 2 cents.
Alder Hopke, and then Alder Hoax, and then Alder Swanson.
My curiosity was about that road. I guess about the road that you need to get on. You said there would be another road potentially built. You're saying, like the sheet.
Yep. So this is very pie in the sky. But I'm envisioning, with the current study that the Wisconsin DOT is doing for the 18151 corridor, of potentially having, hopefully, they would build a full interchange at East Verona Avenue instead of just the two interchange. If they go 4 interchange with that, then I envision East Verona Avenue continuing across and then linking back to the south. And then that would become a north-south road, which would eventually link into County M. Is close to where our property is. So if you're pulling up a map and you see where Shady Bend intersection, and then there's a little bit of a gap, and then across the way is Livesey. So I envision that becoming either a roundabout or a signalized intersection there, which would become the terminus of East Verona Avenue, or whatever it is. But I guess in my mind, that would be the logical extension of East Verona Avenue to get down to M.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not opposed to this land. I just think it's interesting being on a neighborhood road. Like, are there issues with that? Like, just the level of traffic that that road with the trucks and all the cars. Do you think that we can? I mean, clearly we can get over it if we're looking into it. But how are you feeling about that in general?
I don't love it today, but I guess I'm also trying to envision what the future is going to hold. And I think I think this neighborhood is primed for additional development, and somebody needs to be the first. And if we're the first that triggers everything else, then we get to decide what we want and get what we need. I just don't want to fall back into a scenario like we had for Range Trail, where we thought we had the right property at the right time, and now we're here today talking about it.
Yeah, I guess my comment is I just want to keep this ball moving forward, whatever that looks like to get to your building yesterday that we need, like, so just whatever that looks like, I'm in support of that. I know you need that space.
Alder Hoax and Alder Swanson.
Thank you. Yeah, I had similar questions to Alder Helmke about the road access. So if this new road that you're envisioning, I mean, this is like how many years out? We're talking 8, 10? Because I'm just trying to picture, because we're going to move, if we sell the lot that we currently are using for, like, be able to dump there. Or,
Yep, Range Trail.
Yep. People are going to be driving out there with their trailers or whatever and having to, especially if you're going south, right? Crossing over and then on like a residential to get to that spot potentially. Is there anything we can do about that? I'm just concerned, like left turn, M's so busy to take a left on a Shady Bend. Because that's going to be the only access point, right? Is to get in there.
Yep, so Shady Bend, kind of horseshoes its way
connects
around.
twice, yeah.
There's 2 intersections of it. You're right. With us being first, none of the rest of the infrastructure is developed yet. So I guess, again, I'm thinking more for the future of if we go and if we build, then the rest will follow and will trigger the rest of the improvements. With us being first in there, we might have to make those improvements to the intersection of Shady Bend and M now, and then let the rest of the developments follow. I don't know if 8 to 10 years is the right timeline. It's difficult to predict how long it's going to take. I guess my vision is that once the sewer's in and once the water main's in and once a street is stubbed in there, I think they're going to fall like dominoes for the rest of them. But
And you don't think that Laser Street would connect over? I mean, that's.
Yep, so if you're looking at the aerial, there's a couple of environmental corridors that are much more challenging. Laser Street, I don't know if it's going to, because there's a kettle in there, and kind of, if depending on which aerial view you're looking at, some of it you can see it's obvious, and some of it's very difficult because it's hidden by trees. But there's a kettle in there that I'm not sure is going to lend itself to have Laser Street extended in. Okay. I think that's going to be utilized for kind of the south 20 of, going to be talking circles here, the south 20 of the western 40 that we're not looking at.
Thank you. No, I agree. I mean, I'm open to exploring, so thank you.
Yeah. Alder Swanson.
Yeah, I'm happy to echo what the prior alders have said, and that, love more information. More information's good. I would be concerned about the development of us putting that there in terms of aggravating the town of Verona, and in particular that little bit of neighborhood right below. If there was a lot of work that went into constructing there, and got them up in arms, I would be hesitant about doing that. But also that's not my side of the city, so I don't know how much they care. But yeah, like, please explore that. But also explore Alder Tucker Long's suggestion about looking at the other solutions that might make the Whalen property that you have your heart pretty set on more achievable.
Other feedback from the council? I'll call on myself real quick and just say, yeah, I definitely think you should look at it, especially with the limitations of the Whalen site. And I do think that, like, none of these sites are going to be perfect. There's going to be problems in every single one. And so I guess we have to think of, what we can afford and what has the least bad trade-offs. And I think Shady Bend could be the site. It might not be after further research, but I definitely think we should look into it. Other feedback from the council? Alder Tucker Long.
I just ran some super quick numbers, and if we're looking at potentially only having 30 acres for the 40 we buy, that makes Shady Bend about 153,000 an acre. So pretty on par with Wayland. So if we're looking at it for a cost savings, it's potentially not really a cost savings.
Any last minute thoughts from the council? I guess, Mr. Manning, do you feel you have guidance? I think it's pretty clear you should proceed.
Sure.
Okay.
Start making some phone calls.
Excellent. All right. Seeing no further discussion, we will conclude new business and move on to item 12, which is old business. First up, we have 12A, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the hybrid meeting policy. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff recommend continuing with the current practice for city boards, commissions, and committees, where any member of a board, commission, or committee, as well as members of the public, contractors, or other city staff who are unable to attend the meeting in person may notify the presiding officer or assigned staff in advance to request virtual participation. If the request is approved by the presiding officer, staff will make the necessary arrangements to accommodate virtual attendance. And I have just some other comments along with this, Mr. Mayor.
Of course.
I am very apologetic that I lost track of this policy. This has been ongoing for a good while, and I sincerely apologize about that and the process of getting to this conclusion. You know, internally, we reviewed having a formal written policy for boards, commissions, and committees, and we kind of ultimately came back to where we started, which is recommending that we don't have one formally adopted at this time. And the reason for that is this approach preserves our flexibility with our boards, commissions, and committees for the entities themselves, but also members who are unable to attend in person. And it gives us kind of a variety of options to make sure that people can attend the meeting virtually. As we have done in the past, staff will work with members to find solutions that meet the needs of the group or the individual, while staying within the limits of our staffing, budget, available technology, and of course, the law. That perspective shaped the current recommendation, and regardless of whatever is decided tonight, I'll make sure to communicate more clearly going forward what the policy is to avoid further confusion. Thanks.
And then I guess if I could expand on what we're actually doing here tonight. So that's a staff recommendation. If council has a different opinion in the sense that council wants a written policy, obviously the direction could come back to staff by a vote or consensus to say, like, we appreciate your recommendation, but we want a written policy. Or we could accept the recommendation, which doesn't require any action because it would basically be keeping things as they are. So then I guess I would open it up to discussion. Alder Humke. And then Alder
So do we have a policy or do we not have a policy? I thought we had a policy that we...
Mr. Kleinmeyer.
I think you have a policy on the council meetings, but I'm not aware of a policy on non-council meetings.
Okay,
Correct.
got it. So you're suggesting, just to be clear, that we not have a policy, that way we don't have to like enforce anything specific, and committees can decide as they so choose how they want to handle it.
Yes.
So
So within the confines of our available technology, and
Yeah.
we're willing absolutely to talk to communications manager, trustee,
Okay.
Throughout this, and we're absolutely willing to work with the chair of the committee on technology.
So is there ever a situation where like a committee chair could just be like difficult and say, no, I'm not letting you do this if we don't have a policy?
Well,
Mr. Kleinmeyer?
I mean, theoretically, yes, probably. I mean, if you have a policy, then whatever that policy is, every committee chair is going to be obligated to follow it. I mean, this is a policy decision for you as to whether or not to have a policy. The focus for me is the law. I mean, the law does not require any type of policy. The law is just, you got to follow the open meetings law. And that includes the information that you put in your agenda. Like I printed out tonight's agenda, and I apologize for the final plat versus final plan comment, but I was looking at the agenda. Like you have information in here regarding, for example, virtual and other public comments. And so theoretically, the council itself doesn't even need to have a policy. You chose to adopt one, and that's certainly within your discretion. But from my standpoint, the most important thing is just to make sure that no matter what is happening, the council and the committees are operating within the confines of the open meetings law.
Okay, that's helpful. My only comment is that if we have a policy for council, it feels weird to not have a policy. We all seemingly get along and are, good people, and that can always change. That'd be my only 2 cents. My feelings about this.
Alder Tucker Long, then Alder Weiss.
So a little background on this for people who weren't here prior to April. We started talking about this last fall, and we did put it on pause because we wanted to get some technology information and updates. And then in January, we did approve $9,000 to outfit the large conference room with AV equipment to allow for hybrid committee meetings. So that's kind of brought us up to here. So back then, I had proposed some changes, basically expanding our current meeting policy to cover committee meetings, task forces, commissions, boards, all of those things. And the reason for that is because currently it is being inconsistently done, I guess. So there are some committees that allow it, there are some committees that don't allow it, and I dislike inconsistency, especially because I feel like that then gets into, okay, well, I like this person, so I'm going to let them attend virtually, but I don't like that person, so I'm not going to. And those are the kind of situations I want to avoid, and I feel having a consistent policy doesn't decrease our flexibility because the policy does not mandate that we have all meetings as hybrid meetings. It just states that if we do have it as a hybrid meeting policy, these are the steps we need to follow to ensure that we're following open meeting laws and to ensure that we're being consistent in how we deal with the public and with the people on the boards. So I am in favor of having a policy for consistency.
Alder Weiss.
Administrator Ehrlich, was there consideration about how the perceived fairness question might be resolved? Or like, what is the city staff position on how? Because I mean, obviously, many of us are chairs of committees, but there's also non-city staff or public officials that chair committees as well, right? So, I think that it's how. I guess how would the fairness issue be addressed?
Mr. Alec?
It would be decided basically by the committee, talking with the chair on what the rules are for their meetings. So it would be a discussion among the members of what works best for them.
So would then it be a requirement that each committee have a policy local to the committee?
No.
Okay.
It would just be, let's discuss how we're operating our committee, is how I envision that. And that's the discussion you have and go forward.
I guess if I could add one thing onto that as well, like, for example, aside from Plan Commission, committees generally don't have set times. And so sometimes committees try to, basically accommodate all the members. And if it's a long agenda, you try to meet earlier with understanding that people probably have jobs. And also if, someone has 2 committees and they're right after each other, maybe you try to work around that. But again, that is also an opportunity for bad faith where you could try to schedule committees at like 2 p.m. when someone works full time and maybe you don't, or something like that. So I do think there's other potentials for abuse in the system, and we just haven't had that happen yet. Although, who knows what the future holds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Alder Tucker Long and then Mr. Alec.
I'm wondering, Jamie, if you can explain when you say the staff recommendation is to not have a policy to preserve flexibility. Can you explain what does that mean? What flexibility would not having a policy provide that having a policy does not?
Sure. Things like public comment, like virtual public comment gets kind of sticky sometimes, especially because we have one Zoom account. And as you know, how we stack our meetings on Monday, if you've got one account, you can't be feeding into both meetings. So if you're on Public Works Committee and Finance is meeting simultaneously, you could have the flexibility to say, hey, I need to Zoom someone in for this meeting, and that kind of thing. So it gives you flexibility kind of that way. And by not, I think if we start setting up, this just really gives the committee themselves, and they each know themselves well, to be able to have that flexibility. Like, there could be a commission or a committee which would absolutely want in-person attendance only, because the dynamics of that particular meeting are such that, you know, if you have some developers giving presentations, for example, or something like that, there's a dynamic to that meeting, so that gives them the flexibility to say, hey, I want to be in person more. Or there's other ways where, like, if we're just approving bills at finance or something, you know, do a quick virtual finance committee. I believe we could even go 100% virtual if we wanted to, Attorney Kleinmeyer.
As long as it's properly noticed, you can have I think there are, in fact, communities in Wisconsin right now who are still doing 100% virtual meetings. Again, to me, that, again, it all comes back to just ensuring that no matter what, we're in compliance with the public open meetings law. But yes, you can be in compliance with the open meetings law and having a 100% virtual meeting.
So it really comes down to the nature and character of that committee and how they would like to meet. Just to go back to the bad faith question that Alder Weiss had brought up, in my discussions with Mayor Luke about this, the mayor is the appointing authority on many committee chairs. And, you know, if there were a situation that would arise where there was habitual or what have you, like bad faith, you know, at least in my discussions with him, that person wouldn't be a reappointed committee chair. So there's some checks in the system.
Alder Chuck Long.
I just want to go back to my question. In the examples that you've given, I didn't hear anything that wouldn't be allowed by the policy, except perhaps having a fully virtual meeting, because currently the policy states at your recommendation to require enough people in person for quorum in case of technology issues, and also requires at least one staff person to be on site. So, I mean, those are things that could be adjusted in the policy if that's no longer staff's recommendation for the policy, but everything else you discussed would not be banned per the policy. And I'm wondering maybe if there's a misconception that the policy requires virtual meetings, because once again, the policy does not require committees to have virtual meetings. It just makes the virtual meetings consistent when they do have them. And so if a committee wanted to only meet in person, they could 100% do that under the policy changes.
Other questions or comments? Alder Weiss, and then I guess myself.
My concern is that I think that if like every committee was deciding for themselves whether, you know, because of the peculiarity or idiosyncrasies of that particular committee or commission or board or whatever, I mean, that's fine, but it does seem like it's ill-considered for us to have it be like an individual basis standpoint. I could just imagine a member of the public being particularly challenging and then being like, well, everyone else can attend virtually except for you because you're a pain, you know, like, and I wouldn't want to find ourselves in that kind of situation.
Yeah, Mr. Kleinmeyer.
You can't do that whether you have a policy or not. You're not going to be able to do that. That's not a policy-related issue. That's a operation, a legal issue from an operational standpoint.
And so what would we, but would that be, in practice though, would that be prevented? Unless we had some sort of, unless there's a rule, right? It's like, if it's at somebody's discretion each individual time, I guess that seems weird to me. It seems like even if there's, like whatever the rule is, it should be able to write it down, I guess, you know? And just something, unless we're not saying that like the committee could, like somebody says that week, I'd like to attend virtually this week, and then the committee chair is like, should this person be allowed to attend? I don't know. Yes, you know? Or is it like, is that what we're proposing?
I don't want to, I'm not advocating for or against the policy as I say this. I would just say that the situation that you just identified right now cannot happen as we sit here today, and there's not a policy. And the mechanism to essentially fix that is what Jamie had identified earlier, which is the mayor appoints the chair, and if the mayor finds out that a chair is operating a meeting in a way that is unfair and inconsistent with the law, then the mayor is going to have the authority to remove that person as a chair.
But that would be after the fact.
Correct, but I mean that would also be at the end of the day, I would say this, if you have a chair who's going to operate in the way that you just said, and just to be clear, I'm not aware of anybody in Verona ever doing something like
Nor
that.
am
And
I.
I don't think that you're suggesting that. You're just giving, an example.
yeah.
That policy is not going to stop the person from not operating in that fashion. I mean, if a person wants to essentially cross a line in that way, I can't imagine that they're going to concern themselves as to whether or not Verona has a policy that addresses that issue. It would be my opinion.
I guess, yeah, calling on myself and then Alder Swanson. I think I'm inclined to, at least for now, go with the staff recommendation. I think at least so far, we haven't had any issues, and I think we can do it on a case-by-case basis. It does require committee chairs to operate in good faith, but I think that's generally true. Like, even with things like committee locations, like there's absolutely no reason if you wanted to make things difficult, say, oh, we're going to move it to the Public Works building for one time, and oh, we're going to move it to the senior center to try to make it as confusing as possible. We don't do that because that's bad for the public and that'd be bad for the members. It's better to try to be consistent, and I think committee chairs have consistently done it. And to me, I guess the hybrid meeting policy is less of a chance for abuse. I see a lot of potential in it, whereas I feel like there's current things now that we don't have policies around that people just haven't abused. And I just think the sort of problems you would have as an elected official doing it would deter most people. And if it didn't deter people, I mean, that's what elections are for. There's a ton of opportunities for all of us. Hopefully no one will ever do this. I hope I'm not making anyone inordinately aware of this, but like there's tons of ways we could abuse our office and positions, and hopefully nobody does it and nobody will do it. And I don't necessarily think the hybrid meeting policy is where people are going to abuse their office if they're going to do it. And of course, again, I want to emphasize, I'm saying at this time, it's entirely possible that as we get more technology and things change, or even as we learn more, that we'll come back and decide, actually we do need a policy. But at this moment, I'm okay just leaving it how it is. And with the encouragement to committee chairs that we should be as accommodating both to the public and committee members so everyone can attend. Alder Swanson.
Yeah, so I find myself of two minds here in that I do abhor the idea that any committee chair would abuse their power in such a way as to prevent a member of the public or another member of the committee from, or members of city staff or anyone from attending a meeting, whether in person or virtually. And so for that reason, I would like some sort of policy that would make that less likely. And I understand the intent that Alder Tucker Long has in formalizing what our process is to prevent that. However, I also find myself convinced by Mr. Kleinmeier's statement that having a policy would come across as fundamentally reactive. The only way to proactively prevent that kind of abuse would be to institute citywide, we will always have this meeting at this time and it will always be available virtually. And I think that is just beyond the scope of what our operations can handle. And I find myself unconvinced that the kind of people that would be selected by Verona would do such malfeasance. And so at this time, I think I agree that I'm okay with not having a policy on paper.
Alder Tucker Long.
I will say over the last 6 months, we have had issues not having a policy because certain committees have been told that they can have virtual attendance. Other committees have been told that virtual attendance is not allowed because we don't have a policy in place, so it's not allowed. So it has not been consistently applied. I guess my concern is not necessarily that we would have a bad actor trying to do something malicious, more so that having no policy requires every person running a meeting, which is not always an elected official or a staff member, to understand open meeting laws and the requirements, whereas if we have a policy to follow, then we are ensuring that the meetings are done in the way that we know follows how we want things done.
Other questions, comments? We could also just, if someone wants to just make a motion, again, if you favor no action, no motion is necessary. If somebody, for example, did want to have a hybrid meeting policy, it might make sense to just make a motion to direct staff to draft one, so we can, I guess, know how to proceed. Alder Swanson.
I guess I might be in favor of just a policy that ultimately would be pretty toothless, but just a policy that committee, or there's a term that we were using, something about the presiding officer should act to make meetings as accessible as possible, whether through virtual or in-person attendance. But I don't think I'd be particularly in favor of anything more strenuous than that.
Alder Hilke.
Can I ask a question for staff? You know, in other situations, it's been told to me that we need to have clarity so that people follow rules, and this feels like it's like a not following that sort of like thought process. So I'm just, do you think that you can train around, like, do you feel comfortable that we can train around this for staff who are maybe like not in line with what is happening? I just like, I mean, I actually am on board with what Alder Swanson is saying, because it's just like super clear, super simple. Like, we just need to make these meetings accessible, period.
Mr. Alec?
Alder Humke, we have started instituting staff training for committees, you know, staff who are assigned to committees. When did we hold that training, Holly? That was in March or April. And yeah, I mean, absolutely, we could incorporate, you know, this into our curriculum. It's easy enough.
Mr. Lemmer?
Yeah, I guess just listening to your conversation, I had one question of, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the technological aspects of this, but I thought I heard Jamie say earlier that if you have two meetings that are going on at the same time, you cannot have virtual for both meetings because you only have one Zoom account. And so I see two people, I see Beth nodding and shaking her head, and I see other people nodding. So I don't know what the answer to that question is, but that's definitely something that you're going to, I mean, if you want a policy along the lines of, you know, essentially everybody is going to have the ability to have virtual meetings, you need to make sure that you have the technology to make sure that that can happen, essentially.
Which, if we did decide to do it over Zoom, we could purchase another license or whatever. They're happy to sell stuff to you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they.
Did you have?
So Zoom actually on one line, you get two, we asked about this, you can have two meetings on one line at the same time. So just to be clear, like, we wouldn't have to purchase if we had two meetings at the same time. That shouldn't be a problem, so.
Okay. Alder Tucker Long and then Alder Harrison.
We also have Teams subscriptions, and so we can also run meetings on Teams, and there are plenty of platforms that you can run a meeting at 50 minutes or less for free if we needed to implement an additional account for something. But I'm curious then if staff's recommendation now is that we should be more flexible, we should not have this nailed down so much. I'm curious then why the strict policy for city council meetings? Because I know city council does a lot more than a lot of the committees, but city council's action on a lot of things hinges on things coming from committees. So there are a number of committees that are critical to what we do here. And so if there are quorum issues, if the internet goes out or something, I'm just curious why we're not concerned about the quorum issues there as much as we are here.
I guess I could take that one. I think I guess I'm trying to look through my emails to get the details right. But as far as I remember, the virtual meeting policy was drafted by the council itself, as at the time the council felt like it needed one. And so there were definitely staff recommendations, but this was a policy that was purely drafted by elected officials. And so I don't think it's something staff was, I think this might have been, was this before Mr. Alex? Yeah. Yeah, this is before Mr. Alex's time. And so one, it's entirely possible staff would have a different opinion if it came up now. And two, staff didn't write most of it. That was mostly written by dictates from the elected officials.
So the one we debated as far as like how many virtual meetings you could attend and that you have to have quorum in person, that was
based on an earlier thing that the council had drafted.
Okay.
And that didn't come from, I mean, staff obviously had input into it, but it was ultimately something that was debated at the council.
Okay.
Alder Harrison.
Yeah, my point was just going to be about, we don't have to, work on Zoom because we have the Teams accounts. But also, I agree with Alder Swanson and Alder Humke about this seems like just a training issue. We can just talk about what we are and aren't allowed to do. And if there's no policy, then like we're allowed to have we're allowed to have teams on calls, right? Like we're allowed to have calls on meetings. And if that is all that needs to be said, then we can avoid making this policy effective for meetings that don't need it and solve this issue. If everyone knows that, then I don't see the problem.
Alder Swanson, and then myself quick. Yeah.
So would I be able to propose language of a policy to adopt now, or would I make a recommendation that staff draft a policy in line with some text if I were to supply it?
Mr. Kleinmeyer, are there any legal issues that would prevent us?
I would say that I would be more inclined to do what the mayor had said, which is, if the council is seeking a policy, you should have a motion to direct staff to do that. I mean, because I'm hearing a few different things here. I'm hearing some policies that would be very, kind of 10,000 foot level and wouldn't really get into the details, whereas it's been a while since I've seen the draft policy, but I think the draft policy that was out there was kind of more in line with or similar to the policy that you have with the council, which is very detailed. And so I think it would be more appropriate if somebody wants to make a motion to maybe give some guidance as to whether or not you want to see a policy that would be similar to the one for the Common Council, or one that maybe doesn't go into that detail. Allow staff then to kind of come up with something and then bring it to you and be able to comment on it, as opposed to the reason I say that is because it starts to get very difficult if we start putting terms and conditions into a policy right now. The motion is going to go from 2 sentences to potentially 15 with some bullets in it, and that's where it gets confusing. And then it's hard for staff to follow, and Jamie and Holly have to watch the meeting again, essentially on Zoom.
Calling on myself, I do think, obviously people should say whatever they feel like they need to say, but I do feel like we're at the point now where if someone wants to have a policy, a motion would be in order. If people don't want to have a policy, obviously you don't have to do anything. And again, as Mr. Kleinmeyer said, if there is a motion for a policy, it should have details on what the policy should say, so staff actually has a chance of getting it somewhere near right. Alder Harrison.
If I just want, a spoken promise from Jamie that we will just tell, committee chairs or whomever needs to know this, that they can have Teams meetings, then I don't know. Does that need a motion?
I don't think so.
That seems to be in line with kind of the current policy, the non-current policy. But then again, I'm sitting here not advocating one way or the other. I just want to make sure, everyone knows that you don't need to have a policy to be in compliance with the open meetings law. It's up, obviously the council at one point in time, and just to add on what the mayor said, I think that was really kind of a reaction to getting out of COVID. If you recall, essentially when we went into COVID, the Department of Justice issued some memos that basically said, look, really try to follow the open meetings law, but we aren't exactly going to make sure that you've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. Once we came out of COVID, the council still wanted to have some ability to have some type of hybrid meetings, but really wanted the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And I think that's what resulted in the existing policy. And so that's just background.
Okay. I guess so I would ask, does anyone want to make a motion? Seeing no hands, unless anyone has anything else to add, we will move to the next topic. Okay, seeing no hands, we will move on to 12B, which is a discussion and possible action on the development agreement for the Argus Apartments Affordable Housing Project. Can we get something in open session, Mr. Alec?
Thank you, Mayor. Given the feedback from the last meeting from the council, Attorney Kleinmeyer has drafted an amended agreement related to the Argus Apartments Affordable Housing Project, and that's here for our discussion tonight.
Is there back and forth with the applicant, or like something that we should probably discuss in closed session, or can we do some of this in open session?
I would say that we probably want to do it in closed session. I think our entire conversation is probably going to be related to the terms and conditions of the document. My understanding is the applicant did make a proposal, and maybe at the Plan Commission, certainly at the Common Council level. And I think one of the things that we're talking about is how to incorporate some of those terms and conditions into the agreements. And then, Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what it relates to. I can tell you that, and I can say in open session that we have not had any further discussions with the applicant, at least I have not. Essentially, we took the draft that they had provided and knew that we wanted to make changes based on the discussion that we had with the council. The updated agreement does reincorporate into the document a lot of the TIF language that we've talked about. Again, the funding here, if this project moves forward and if the city decides to participate, it's going to be based on funds that are in our affordable housing account that were generated based on the increment in certain TIF districts that have been closed. And so, under the TIF law, there's certain rules and regulations that the project would have to abide by. And so that language has been reinserted to the document. Other than that, I think it's more terms and conditions related to the project.
Okay. All right, unless someone has anything to say in open session, I guess I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. If someone wants to make it, we could do it in open session too if you want. Alder Swanson.
I move to convene in closed session as the common council may convene in a closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.85, subsection 1, subsection E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating with the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons deem a closed session necessary, the common council may reconvene in an open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. This is, of course, a roll call vote. If Clerk Leek would be so kind as to read the roll.
Alderperson Harrison?
Aye.
Alderperson Helmke?
Aye.
Alderperson Hoax?
Aye.
Alderperson Keller?
Aye.
Alderperson Swanson?
Aye.
Alderperson Tucker Long?
Aye.
And Alderperson Weiss.
Aye.
We will convene in closed session then. And that's the other room, right? Okay.
phone does, is it a battery that's like those, like flash drives that says it's 128 gigs, but it's actually like 3?
All right, it is 8:38 and we are back in open session. We had a fruitful discussion in closed session, and when we have more stuff to announce, we'll bring it forward to the public. Any other comments for open session on this project? Seeing no comments, with that, we'll move on to item 13, which is adjournment.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn, being our motion by Alder Hoax. Is there a second? Second by Alder Humke. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we adjourn at 8:38 PM. Thank you, everyone.